Alright, so this is going to be a quick tutorial about what ions are. Okay, so ions are basically by definition a charged atom or molecule. We're going to be focusing on atoms for the first part of the year though. We're eventually going to get to polyatomic ions or molecular ions later on in the year. So for now, just worry about the charged atom part of what an ion is. So if it's a charged atom, that means the protons and the electrons cannot be equal to each other. Because if you have just as many positives as negatives, the atom would be neutral. But this is not neutral. It is a charged atom. So that means that the protons cannot equal the electrons. This also means that the net charge cannot equal zero. Again, because if it equals zero, it would be neutral. But ions are charged atoms. Alright, if the net charge of an atom or an ion is greater than zero, it's considered a cation. Okay? That's considered a cation. An easy way to think about this is that it's got a T in that, and that T almost looks like a positive sign. Okay? So the net charge is greater than zero, it's positive, cat has a T in it. Okay? The net charge is less than zero, that would mean it's called an anion. Okay? Or a negative ion. In this case, it'd be negative. Okay, an easy way to think of this is this A right here. It's A and then N. I always think of it as it stands for a negative ion. So if you break up the word, AN stands for a negative ion. A negative ion is an anion. Now I have examples of ion notation right here. You can have aluminum, and then you just kind of put the charge in the upper right. So far what we're used to is using nuclear notation and then putting the charge in the upper right. Either way, the charge always goes in the upper right. Sometimes they put the mass number and the atomic number in, like we were doing with the nuclear notation. Sometimes we don't. Eventually, later on in the year, you're going to mostly see all the examples of ions looking like this. The charge, with the charge, it's really kind of funny. The number comes first, and then the positive or negative comes afterwards. But if you actually said what the charge of this is, you would say +3. Or you would say a -2. But the way you write the number first. For whatever reason, that's how chemists decide to do it. But these are all examples of them. As you can see, aluminum 3+ ion, or you could say aluminum ion, oxygen 2-, chlorine negative, and hydrogen H+. So these are all ions. Now if you have hydrogen without any charge up there, there's just nothing, it's just assumed to be zero. Alright, so this would not be considered an ion because it doesn't have a charge up there. So that's the basics of what ions are, charged atoms, and kind of how to write them. Different ways that you can actually write them to represent a charged atom or an ion. So if you have any questions, let me know.